Before you begin to change the oil of your DSG transmission, you need to verify the oil temperature. This can be read from sensor G509 using your diagnostic equipment. Temperature is very important because it determines not only the oil level, but it prevents you from damaging your transmission. Normal operating temperature of your engine is approximately 190 degrees Fahrenheit, while your DSG will read approximately 90 degrees Celsius, plus or minus a few. You need to get this to 50 degrees or below Celsius. For example, I had mine fully operating temperature 90 degrees Celsius. It took me 3 hours to get it to cool down to 50 degrees Celsius. This could vary for you depending on your climate and or the ventilation in your garage or around your vehicle. Once you have reached 50 degrees or below Celsius, you can go ahead and start removing your filter. Start by gaining access to the engine compartment by removing the upper sound absorber panel. Grab a corner, give it a good little tug. Upper corner, another corner, and the last corner right over here. Be careful not to touch any hot engine components if you've had your engine running. Okay. Next step would be to remove the air box, the filter housing. You want to disconnect the MAF so that you can have more working room, and also to not damage the cable, the harness, the connector. And the manual has you remove the battery and the battery tray. So there you go. This is the air filter box removed. In order for me to actually get it out beyond these lines without removing those, because I believe those have fluid in them, or may contain fluid in them, you need to, with a flathead screwdriver or maybe even ample thumb pressure, push in here on both sides, and you'll push this little catch right there in, and you should be able to just pluck that right off. The next thing is down here. This guy right there. This kind of wiggles a bit. Okay, this came off of that. Be careful not to tug on this too hard. This also connects to the back end of the filter box and to the back to there. This is kind of a fabric-like material. Don't tug on it hard. It should just slip right off. Just wiggle it off, both sides. Next is, I don't know if you can see it here, but it's in there. Trust me, it's in there. You can do the full procedure and remove the battery and the tray. I used a 15/16 of an inch, half-inch drive with a 6-inch extension, also a half-inch drive and a half-inch drive ratchet. You're supposed to use a 24mm socket, shallow socket, but I tried to get one at my local store and couldn't find one, so it translates to about 15/16 of an inch. And because you're not using high levels of torque, this is suitable enough. So you're good with 15/16 if you don't have a 24mm. I went ahead and removed the terminals to the battery. You're going to need, I'm using a deep socket, 10mm. And after you remove that, just loosen it, put it aside. Make sure you don't shock yourself. Disconnect one lead before you touch the other. The next thing you will need is, where did that go? I believe that was a size 13 for the bolt that goes here. This one right here. That was a size 13mm. That does not have to be a deep socket. It can be shallow. Once you remove this guy out of the way, you can lift the battery out. The battery will be heavy. Be careful. Just kind of like wiggle it so it breaks free from these little catches along the way here, and then just lift it up. It will be heavy. It'll be approximately, I'm guessing 30 pounds, maybe 25. I could be over estimating, but be careful. Once you remove that, you will need to remove this here, this bolt, and there is one more right here. Take these bolts off, and for these, look at that, they actually happen to be 10mm as well. So I'll see you when I'm ready to put in the new filter. There you go, you actually have room to work now. Old filter. Slide that right up. And it's draining a little bit, but not too much. I'm going to be able to lift this out and drop it in my pan. As you can see, it's actually collected quite a bit of interesting characteristics on it. Not quite sure what it is, but having looked at its replacement, you can tell that one is definitely much darker than the other. Please replace these when specified, and if you want to do it sooner, by all means, it's up to you. Just remember, it's pricey, but keep to the schedule at least. Okay, in there looks like kind of like a light maple syrup. No debris. Looks like I'm good to install the next filter. You want to install it with the shoulder, or some people would call it a nipple. It's got a inner diameter seal right there at the very beginning of the mouth. Just slip that right in. Okay, some people lubricate it. I feel that there's enough lubrication still around the transmission portion of it that it would just receive it and slip right on. So once that's seated, you can go ahead and put the cap on. I actually went ahead and used a MAF sensor cleaner to spray this off because I manhandled it so much. I wanted to make sure I got all the dust particles out of it and removed the O-ring that goes here. I have a replacement. Always replace them. Remember, this gets replaced every 40,000 miles, so you don't want the seal to go bad on you. Otherwise you'll have to remove the battery tray and the air box and all that scenario, and worse, you could damage your transmission by fluid loss. So change these always. It's not worth it. Or rather, it is worth it. Okay, once I got my seal on there, put that on. I tend to want to go counterclockwise to make sure I hear it catch a thread, and then I bring it clockwise and tighten it by hand, then finalize it with 15 foot-pounds, or I believe it was 20 Newton meters.